Everyone, in just a moment, I'm going to be introducing author Carter Wilson. And in case you don't know who he is, we are going to be talking about his newest book, Mr. Tender's Girl. Oh my God, this thriller. I have been reading so many thrillers, and just when I think that, if I think, oh, I can't read another thriller, I read another one, and, and then it's his book. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't read another one. And then I read another one, and then it's Carter's book, and it is so good. Okay. I think that I know, like, I think that I always think if I read enough thrillers, I'll actually know the ending, and it's not true. I had no idea. And this book was amazing. So I can't wait to talk to him about it. Everyone, here is Carter. Hi, everyone. I am so excited because I get to speak with author Carter Wilson today. And we're going to be talking about his newest book, Mr. Tender's Girl. And I have mine on my phone because I was reading the Kindle and listening to the audiobook. But you guys are all looking at a picture of it right there, which I love the cover, Carter.
Yeah, the cover is fantastic. It went through a couple iterations, and the one that they finally settled on is nice and creepy.
Yes, and I think it's one of the things that drew me to this book, because I am a I think everybody's a cover person, but,
Yeah.
And on Instagram, people will stack a whole bunch of books, and then I see the covers, and I'm like, yes, 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 yes.
Yeah.
But this book, I've been reading so many thrillers lately. They kind of come in batches for me, and, I'll go through some historical fiction, but right now it's been thrillers. And
Okay.
I started this book, it was like 8 o'clock at night, couple of nights ago, and then I'm like, oh, I can't listen to this. I got to go to sleep. I cannot listen to this because I was reading and I was listening, and I'm like, okay, it got intense quick. Okay.
Yeah. It does. It does get intense quick, and it's funny because it's actually what I consider to be one of my less, I don't know, intense novels in terms of violence and some of the subject matter, but I think it's creepier than anything else that I've written, and that has really seemed to has engaged with people. And yeah, definitely reading at night has been a problem I've heard.
Yeah, so I just kind of put it away. And I don't like a lot of violence either. And I think a good thriller doesn't even need a lot of violence, to build that tension. And so I'm listening to it, and I like to read. I'm a reader, but I do get the audiobook a lot because you can get on Amazon, for everybody out there, you can get it hooked up that you're reading and listening, and it just kind of forwards it, to wherever you are, which is awesome. I mean, I love doing that. But I'll listen in the car, like when I'm on my way to the grocery store, and then I'll pick it up again and read it. I just didn't with this one. And I can read faster than I can, of course, you always read faster than you can listen. But she was so good that I wanted to listen more than I wanted to read. And that's not like me. So that's how good she was.
That's fantastic. Kudos to her. Yeah, she's got a great voice.
Yeah, and it was really, kudos to her for your book, because everybody who loves to, when they're driving and they want to listen to a good thriller, she builds the tension so much that I would like only be able to listen to one chapter, and I'd be like, oh, I have to kind of listen to another chapter.
That's great to hear. I'm glad.
Yeah, and I have to say that I think Alice is like one of my favorite characters that I've read. She's going to be on one of my favorite character lists. I do like all kinds of lists, and I loved her. I loved who she was and how she transformed as the book goes, and how she I don't know. I was like, I got teary-eyed at the end because
good,
I did because I got so attached to her and her growth. And first of all, I will always, I don't do spoilers, but this isn't a spoiler. I mean, she suffers from panic attacks from a violent attack that she had on her. I also had panic attacks for a long time in my life. And so as she's learning things, I almost wanted to help her. Like some of her panic attacks, I was like, okay, no, that's not going to work. This is what you got to do. It's like,
I was interested in making her physically strong and emotionally very fragile. That was important to me, to have that kind of balance, and just this. Yeah, I'm very fascinated with the idea that you can't escape what's in your own mind. You can train for anything, but you can't battle. It's very hard to battle your own inner demons, and I wanted her to really struggle with that. So I'm glad that resonated.
Oh, it really did. I mean, it was dead on for me, and it's not unusual. A lot of people suffer from panic attacks. I mean, I thought I was the only. You think you're the only one when you're
Yeah.
going through it, but you're really just not. So.
Yeah, what's interesting is that I went to a website that asked people who suffer from panic attacks and PTSD to describe in one sentence what it's like to go through a panic attack. And they only had one sentence to do it. And so I read hundreds of these descriptions, and you start to see the theme of, suffocation, crushing weight, hopelessness. And that really resonated with me, excuse me, in order to kind of describe it for her.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. She suffered. I so related to what she suffered with, but it's like I said, I kept trying to give her advice, like, no, don't do that. That doesn't work that well. I can give you.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. But I had started them back in the '80s when nobody talked about it. I didn't know what it was because nobody. Sure. Now people, it's like, oh, you're having a panic attack. Oh, I can help you with that. Like now it's like everyday speak, I should say.
Yeah.
But,
right.
But
right.
I just. Yeah, and I love that her journey, like I said, the way you wrote her, like as she got stronger mentally, and then, like you said, it's like she was strong physically, she made sure, but she kept getting stronger, and then it's almost like she wasn't convinced that she was strong mentally, like it had to really come, I don't want to give away anything, but it has to come, it had to really come to an end, and I kind of think that's what does have to happen sometimes, so, I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, it was important that I created an arc for her without it feeling so much like an arc, that it was just, her journey was just something she was kind of forced to face, and becoming stronger through it is just a natural output. It's either that or you completely lose and go deeper into your own darkness. So yeah, it was, she's a character that I've probably been the most attached to that I've written. It was hard to end the book. I liked how I ended the book, but it was hard not to think like, oh, I don't have another story lined up with Alice right now. So I'd like to explore her voice more at some point.
Oh, yeah, that would be awesome. And I love, like, the theme of the book is, like, don't trust anyone, okay? That was what her father left her with. That's pretty early on in the book, too. But I love, like, I kept thinking about the title, okay, Mr. Tender's Girl. And every time I thought I understood it, there'd be another, and I'd be like, oh, that's why it's called Mr. Tender Girl, okay? Like it just kept changing and changing, and I love that. And I saw that on Amazon. Your reviewers were saying like every time you thought you understood what was going to happen, you had no idea what was going to happen or who she should trust or who she was like going in circles.
Yeah, and that's largely a byproduct of me not really knowing what I'm doing when I'm writing a book. I don't outline. I just kind of start with an opening scene that is interesting to me, and it just kind of continues from there. And so a lot of times I'm getting surprised by kind of, oh, maybe this is what happens. And then if it's a surprise to me, then it's usually going to be a surprise to the reader. So I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. I love the way you end a chapter because I kept wanting to go to the next chapter. Like, I don't know. I think your last sentence of every chapter, I would get mad if I couldn't go on to the next chapter. It's like, oh, I have to cook dinner. Oh,
Yeah, I learned over the years that pacing for thrillers is just so important. And, I'm a big fan of short chapters. I'm a big fan of, like, I'll be writing something and then I'll just write a sentence that I like. And I'm like, okay, it just ends right there. That's where I want to end this chapter. And maybe I'll continue next, or maybe we'll go somewhere else. But it just feels right to me. And when I look at it in a published book, it's like, oh, that chapter's 4 pages long. But it does propel you, I think. At least that's the intention.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really a fan of short chapters for thrillers because it keeps you just going and going and going,
Right.
And they're really, I mean, as I was listening to it, there were very little chapters that were, long. There were, it was like there were way more chapters that were really short. But it also makes you think, oh, that one's, only going to be 10 minutes of my life of listening. Okay, I can quick do another one. So It also keeps the reader right there thinking, I can just do another one. Because we're always looking like, okay, is it possible? Is it possible to do another chapter? So,
Yeah, that's funny. I don't even ever think about it from that perspective, but that's true. And, I have times where I'll go back in editing and this chapter just feels long to me, and I'll literally just cut it in half, end it with a good sentence, and start up in the next chapter just because it feels right to me. But that's a great comment about a reader might be more propelled forward if they know that they only have X% to go until the next
Yes.
chapter.
Well, that yeah, exactly. Especially like readers like me that have other things, like kids around, and we're
Right.
like,
Yeah.
how much more can we read? But
Right.
this is the I think this is your fifth. Not is this your fifth book?
Yeah. My fifth published book. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, were you always writing thrillers, or how did that journey go for you?
So I didn't start writing until about 15 years ago when I was in my early 30s. It was just kind of, I mean, honestly, it was kind of an epiphany moment. I hadn't studied writing. I have a business degree. And just literally one day I started writing. And that was a thriller, and that was a 400-page manuscript that never, I was able to get an agent with that book, but I never sold that book. In fact, I didn't sell my first four books. So I just kept writing and writing and writing and learning, learning from my rejections. But it was always kind of thriller. Even early on, it was almost a little bit more horror, but more on the commercial thriller side. But dark, for sure, dark thrillers. And so, yeah, I've been always engaged by the idea of a kind of a normal, everyday person faced with an extraordinary situation. So my books are usually about a person, and it's not a global scale kind of thriller. And Mr. Tinder's Girl is a great representation of that because it's just one woman and having to fight all these things that are going against her when she's just trying to be left alone. That just appeals to me because I think it allows you as a reader to say, like, well, what would I do in this situation and how would I react? And that's just it's an interesting perspective for me to write from, and it requires very little research, which is also a bonus.
Yeah, and I think the character, it was so character driven. Not a lot of thrillers are. If I'm not going to connect with a thriller, it's because I don't connect with the character. And
Yeah.
because you have to take a little bit of time with building that so that you're sympathetic to the character, you're kind of in her shoes, whether or
Right.
not you've experienced I mean, I connected with her with the panic attacks, but even if you've never, like, you're in her shoes, you're seeing what she's seeing, and her daily life, and I don't know, I thought you set it up really well with her, that that you care what happens to
Right.
her.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, that's always the hardest balance, right? Is figuring out character development versus plot. You've got to have both, or it doesn't work. And character development, you just kind of write from your own emotional viewpoint and hope that it connects. It's very hard to tell if, for whatever reason, a lot of people connected with Alice. I get a lot of feedback about that. I've had other characters where people don't connect as much, even though you feel as emotionally invested as the writer. And it's always hard to tell. But yeah, Alice really resonated with a lot of people, and I think a lot of it had to do with her being as strong as she possibly could, but still being limited by her own experiences. So and then learning to grow through that.
Yeah, and I always picture it as a movie because I do. And like when you watch thriller movies, and especially like teenage thriller movies, and they walk into a dark basement, and you're like, what are you doing? Don't walk into that dark basement or whatever. With her, it's like every time she said, well, I trust them, or I'd be like, no, don't trust them.
What did your father tell you?
What did your father tell you? But it took her a while. But it was like she had these safe people, I would call them, that she thought were safe to talk to. But then she was realizing, not everybody was as safe as she thought. But
Well, that's kind of part of the human experience, right?
Yes.
For me with her, it was she wanted to take this stand of I don't trust anybody and I can do this alone. But the reality of it is we can't do anything alone.
Right.
And it's not worth it to even try. So you feel like you have to have a human connection to somebody. And then you have that judgment of like, is this the right thing to do or not? But I need this. So that's kind of what she had to face.
Yeah, and I did love her brother too. I have a younger brother, so I really related with the brother in the story and her protectiveness over him, and it was just another dimension to her, is what I thought.
Yeah, I'd like to explore their relationship more. I mean, that's something that I'm interested in doing at some point. But yeah, I've got a lot of feedback about the brother as well, that people really connected with him. So I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. So, okay, so this book came out in February. It's getting, I mean, I don't read reviews before I read the book. I always want my own opinion before I go
Sure.
back on Amazon and read crazy people's opinions. And, but everybody was like, oh my God, this is so, I was like, wow, he got so many positive reviews, which must be thrilling for you. I mean,
Yeah, it's nice. I mean, and I'm always impressed by the depth of the reading community out there. You go to Goodreads or some Instagram groups, and these people are reading a book a day, and it's phenomenal. And the fact that a lot of them have engaged positively with my book, it's just, yeah, it's why the whole reason you do it, right? It's so fulfilling to have strangers say, "I really connected with this, and this was meaningful, and it really entertained me," and yeah, that's you can't ask for anything more fulfilling.
no, and you know what? I am a horrible reviewer. Like, 'cause I talk about them with the person. I'm a horrible on. But when I read some of those reviews, I'm like, wow, this person really. I mean,
Really put the time into this.
it really puts a. I would. It would be like a school project for me. It would take me all day to write a review like that.
Yeah, it's so interesting to me, and it's wonderful that whether they liked it or not, that they really will go paragraph after paragraph, kind of really nuancing what they liked and what they didn't like. It's very impressive.
It really is, and I stopped reading reviews because I would find people the negative. I didn't like to read negative, but I'm finding more and more that I don't know whether I don't know, but I don't know if it's Amazon, but it really you don't get those crazy ones anymore. It seems like people take it very seriously now, and I'm so happy about that. They aren't just
Yeah,
saying, "Oh, I didn't like the name of the book. Oh, I didn't like the cover. I didn't like," like they don't say
right.
that anymore. So
I saw one the other day for Mr. Tinder's Girl. It was 3 stars out of 5, and it said, "This book is sick, sick, sick. I don't know if it's a good sick or a bad sick, but I can't get it out of my head." And I'm like, wow, that's kind of cool.
I mean, I was like,
I got,
that's great. I'll take that review, right?
it's just so interesting to me, and people have totally different opinions on the same thing, and
Yep.
yeah, I find it fascinating.
Yeah, and like I said, I found it. I'm on Instagram a lot because I have a lot of book reviewers, and we go back and forth. We give each other books, and that's how I found this book. Because it was
Okay.
in a pile, and they were like, "Read these," and I was like, "Oh my God!" And I went right. I mean, my eye went right to this cover, and I'm like, "Yes,
Oh,
I'm gonna read that." And
oh,
I am
great.
so happy that I did. But those book reviewers on Instagram are everything. I mean, they are really out there pushing books, and I love all of them. you
Yeah, they
know
are.
they really, yeah, they're just wonderful people. And as I've gotten to know them more and more, and all they care about is you and promoting your book and getting other
Yeah,
people to read it. So
it's fantastic.
yeah. So what are you working on now?
So I'm working on a book that we're going to be submitting relatively soon to our publisher. It's kind of hard to describe, but it's a book about memory. It's a book about lost memories and shared lost memories between strangers. It's something that is kind of an emotional book for me, so it's been very interesting to write. I lost my dad to Alzheimer's about 10 years ago, and I realized that as I write, there's a lot of thread about memory in my book, and this book most directly talks about that. Not through dementia, but just kind of through this other experience that these people have, and so it's been a little bit of a cathartic writing project. I mean, still a thriller, still a lot of lives in the balance, but it's just a whole theme of what is happening to me. I don't understand what's happening to me. Why can't I remember things? So along that vein.
Well, I do think you do that really well because the way you got into Alice's head, like to express what she's going through. I mean, that's what makes a great psychological thriller is like, being in their thoughts and kind of going on that journey with them. And that I would find that hard to write too. I would get so emotional about that. So,
Yeah, I mean, there's something about writing from that first person present
yes.
tense point of view that I love to do. It's you're limited to what that person knows, but you're intimately in their head, and you're experiencing that world, and that's a very fun way for me to write. It really immerses you in that character. So that's what I tend to do more often than not.
Are you writing full time now?
I'm not. No, I'm balancing this with a full time. I'm also a consultant in the hospitality industry, so I do a
Wow.
lot of travel, a lot of public speaking about the state of the industry. So I'm kind of balancing everything. So which is fun. It keeps me very very busy, and family and everything else.
No kidding. I was gonna say because just to write a book like this, I would think that would consume a lot of time. And
Yeah, it takes me about the book probably took me about a year to do, and that's what I target. Sometimes it takes longer, and it's been getting longer, but as I have more and more commitments, but once in a while you just hold yourself up and just start writing away and try to get a lot done in a weekend, for example.
yeah, but you know what? A year is good because as the other ones are coming out, it's a good cycle to be on because you're promoting the next one and then getting the. I mean, a year's still great, and having a full time job. I mean, that's
Yeah,
still right on.
that's what I'm trying to do. So
Yeah.
yeah, it takes longer and longer, but yeah, I 7 days a week I commit to writing
Wow.
every day, and some days I miss it, but most times I'm able to commit to it, even if it's 30 minutes to an hour. At least I'm doing something.
Right. Well, I am so happy I found you. I'm so happy I found this book. It was a joy to read. It really was. It was so much fun. It was such a ride. I like to call it thrillers. I like to call it rides. It was such an emotional ride for me. And like I said, at the end, I was just like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love her so much. I have to let her go now and go read another book, but I'll be okay.
Well, I'm glad you connected with that, and I really appreciate your kind words about it.
Yeah, and you know what? I always know that a book is that good. If I don't want to let go of a character, if I know I have to read another book, and I'm like, just give me some hours. I just need some time. That's when I know a book has
Oh,
really
good.
got me. So
Oh,
that's the
good.
biggest compliment I have for you right there.
Oh
And
no, I really couldn't ask for more than that. If a book sticks with you, and if you feel like it was unique, it was a little bit different than what you're used to reading, there's no higher compliment that an author can receive. So I mean, we're competing for so much of your time, whether it's TV or movies or books or magazines or the
right.
internet. Just any kind of memory of
Yes.
our work is the compliment.
Well, please let me know when you get the next one coming. I would love to read it. Love to read it.
Oh,
And
I will absolutely loop you in.
okay, great. That's awesome. I will have all of Carter's links listed below here, and you guys can see the copy of the book, which is just crazy. I love the copy of the. I love the cover. So whoever did it, did an amazing job because
Source books, yeah, the
it's
team at Source Books.
yeah. So thank you so much, Carter, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Michelle. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah,
Take
bye
care.
bye. Everyone, thank you for watching Carter and I. If you made it this far, he was awesome. I cannot say enough about this book. I am so happy that I got to know him and that I got to talk to him about this book, which is the best part about reading these books is getting to talk to the author and asking them questions about it. So thank you, Carter. Like I said, all his links will be listed below here. And if you enjoyed it, please hit like. Thanks.